the phone. Wait till we get some people in here. See if I can find it on the chat. Tilt it down a little. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, got a thumbs up. Let's see if somebody gets in here. What's up, Damian Gonzalez, Ted McDonald? Appreciate that. My wife just went walking, so I thought I'd come out here and chat. I'm also going to get into the back of my truck. I've got it pulled up. I bought this new, it's made for a vacuum bag. I think I had it in the last live. Maybe I showed it. So I'm going to get some of my tools out of the back of my truck and the ones I intended to put in here, see if they're going to work for me. I finally got some time to do that, I think. What's up, Vegan? But I'll wait a little bit, get some people in here. Got 12 people. I thought about if I wasn't going to do this, one of these times whenever I do a live, I'm going to try streaming it the vertical way just to see if the amount of people is different. Because I know whenever like Tools with Tactics and the Tools with Soals, whenever they do it that way, which they usually have 2 people. But their views are like, they say it's a lot more views. I don't know if more people watch live short versions or whatever. What's up, Jose? Ted said he's got that bag and a ton of air tips for it. Yeah, I've got enough air tips to put in it, but I actually am going to try to use it for like both my jigsaws and my planer. I keep them in a just regular M12 bag now, and they're kind of wadded up in there pretty good. And then that way I can kind of keep them more separate, and it should fit. I think this is going to fit my deck drawers pretty well still, I think. Anyways, we're about to find out. I'm going to move over there in a little while. I've got my truck kind of pulled into the garage door opening. What you guys been working on this week? I've been doing drywall, and more drywall. But I did do a little bit of electrical work too in the same spot. Just coffee, black coffee. I don't know if I can get it. Ooh. Well, just spilled some on me. You made me do that. I only drink black coffee. I don't put anything in my coffee. I pretty much will drink it year round. It doesn't matter to me if it's 100 degrees outside. That's what I drink most of the time. Appreciate that, buddy. And although I drink coffee all the time, I don't like that coffee right there. It's gross. If you drink coffee black, it's gross. I think most people like milkshakes that drink from there. But this mug right here, I got this at like at a Christmas party or something or other, and it was wrapped in a red sweater. But I absolutely love this mug. Like, it holds the temperature good. It holds enough coffee for me, all those kinds of things. Makes me I really like this mug, but I don't like their coffee. Let's see. What's up, Woodchuck? Terry Burton checking in from Augusta, Georgia. Lots of severe damage here from the hurricanes. Yeah, I had heard that about Georgia. Had a big bunch of it. A buddy of mine's going to South Carolina on vacation that he had planned. And of course, coming from where we live, typically you go through North Carolina. That's actually how I went whenever I went a few months back. And it's taken him through Georgia because they said you can't even go through the North Carolina area. But I told him, I said, I'm pretty sure Georgia got quite a bit of damage as well. A young man could make a small fortune, he said, repairing things here. Yeah, it's probably going to be that way for a while. And some of the stuff I've seen, I don't watch the news and all that kind of stuff very much. But some of the videos, like I've seen just by scrolling through YouTube, and they've been coming up on my feed, it's crazy. Like some of the stuff, like some people lost their house, and sometimes you'll lose your house during a storm, but like the land that the house was even sitting on is gone. Like it went off into the, I mean, so like, what do you even do in that? You have nothing. You don't even have the land to build another house on. It's kind of crazy. Woodchuck said he's doing hardwood flooring install, sanding, and finishing this week. Yeah, I haven't done most of the floors that I haven't done any hardwood floors in I don't know how long. Like everybody goes to that LVT stuff, which I mostly do commercial work in that instance anyway. So typically we're doing glue down LVT most of the time, or sometimes ceramic tile, but even ceramic and porcelain tile and all that stuff, people don't do that as much anymore either. The only time you really get into tile work and stuff like that was like the big stores in malls like Victoria's Secrets and things like that, who they put that kind of stuff in. But most people in homes and everything's going to floating LVT or LVP, whichever way you want to call it, planks, whatever. Yeah, hardwood's not been a thing for me in a long time, but again, I don't do residential that much. Vegan cookies good, $5. Try Beyond Black by Black Rifle. Yeah, I haven't tried any of theirs. I need to get some of theirs. A lot of people, you're probably about the fifth person that's kind of told me about Black Rifle. Can we see you in the same sweater? I don't think so. Uh, I don't think I'm gonna fit in that one. You tried any good? I did try the Coca-Cola Oreos vegan. Have you tried those? They actually weren't that bad. They got some kind of thing in them though that makes it pop whenever like you've got it in your mouth. It's like almost like those pop rock type candies. Like it's supposed to be, I guess, to replicate the fizz of a Coke. But actually, the taste of them, it kind of tasted like a cherry Oreo a little bit to me. My wife didn't like them at all, but I thought they was okay. Let's see. Mac Bergson trying to install a water filter and it just fell off the bracket and the plastic broke. Womp womp. Yeah, I was actually just watching the handyman. I think he's just the handyman. I don't know what he is. He was talking about how that's one of the most lucrative and the most asked for handyman type job that he's done in the last several years is water filtration. Like a lot of people are wanting to go with that, like the reverse osmosis and all that kind of stuff. What's up, Contreras? Vegan said he's doing a review on the Coca-Cola Oreo soon. I thought they was pretty good. I never did get to try the Sour Patch ones. We had them in the house, and I didn't eat any of them, and my son ate them all. So, and I can't find them now, so I never did even get to try one of those. He actually went and bought some. I think I saw some in a gas station though the other day, but I didn't get any. But they were even just in a small sleeve. I wish I would have bought a pack of those now. No tool to fix that. Tried to order another, and the earliest it will arrive is Sunday. Yeah, you can't do a lot of. Whenever plastic breaks, I guess they got that plastic welding and all that kind of stuff that you can do. I've never tried any of that myself either, but I wouldn't want to try it on something that was supposed to be pressurized water and stuff like that anyways. I'd want the piece to be what it's supposed to be. Let me flip this dude around here. I may end up setting it. We'll see how this goes. Actually, yeah, I might go ahead and let me see if I can get this set up. Let me see if I go like this, how that's going to look. Yeah, I'm going to put you on this tripod, I think, real fast, if I can. So give me just a second. I may make y'all sick moving you around, but I'm going to try to put you on, because this thing I've got you on, I can't put it up very high, and I don't think I'll be in a good enough spot. You pimp out your trailer with a mini fridge and a microwave? No. I ain't going to put anything in that trailer but materials. Let's see how this goes. I always got to be careful not to press in the volume buttons whenever I do that. That might be all right. Y'all probably won't be able to see. Well, let me see if I scoot closer maybe and see what that does. We'll go with right there. Maybe. How do you like your M18 lantern light? That one's been pretty good. I like it. I like the, I like this dude right here. It's a pretty nice feature on it to be able to hang that. Like, cause then you can just hang it up on a ceiling or something like that whenever you're working. And it's just like having a light in the middle of the room. But I bought it specifically whenever I go up an attic sometimes. It's a lot easier to have it just light up the entire attic than to mess with a spotlight, which this has on it as well. But then you gotta, because sometimes you're working in a big circle somewhere and you don't have to move your light around a lot. So I actually really like this one. That's why I keep it in my truck. It's a little bit big for what I want to keep in my truck to have all the time, but it still works out pretty decent. I got to get in here and find, I can't remember where I put it up last. I've been swapping sides. Yeah, so in this bag here, I keep my M12 planer. I also keep the barrel grip jigsaw, the new one, the fuel version. And then I keep my coping foot jigsaw, the older one. But inside this bag here, of course, I keep the extra like planer blades, jigsaw blades. A little bit too much for one of these bags. So then whenever I got to situate them every time I put them in and out. So I got tired of kind of messing with that. And I think what I'm also going to do is, because I keep my pin nailer and stapler inside of this one. See if that's in the frame. Yeah. I'm going to see what all I can fit in this double bag deal. I'm going to go grab that real fast. Because I guess I need to make sure this is going to fit in my deck drawers first too. I think it will. I can't imagine that it won't. Yeah, so it's not going to be a lot different. So I'm going to try to basically combine. Let me see if I can we'll see if I can drop y'all, slant you a little more maybe and lift you up. Might be better. My microphone's going to end up pulling out probably. Let's see. Let me go grab my other phone for the chat real fast. Max said your son and my son would get along great. He loves to eat all the new stuff before anyone else can have one. Well, he actually bought the Sour Patch one, so I couldn't complain too much. He bought them at the store. But yeah, I'm always like, I'm at my heavy stage right now, so before too long, I'll kind of kick into going on, like I go on kind of carnivore more than anything. But then I'll buy stuff specifically for whatever my diet is that I'm on, and it never fails. They always eat everything that you buy for your diet, and then leave everything that's not. Let's see. Nice. Bought one, ended up reselling. Do you have all your bags memorized by location? For the most part, I got them memorized by the side. And then, like, what I've done here is I've got colored zip ties. So this is red. Then that way I remember red is my my pin nailer and my stapler. And then I've got green, which is my, I want to say it's my Sawzall and my detail sander. So yeah, this is something I'm probably going to see if I can fit in this thing. Basically, I'm going to try to put like all the stuff that I typically use woodworking inside this one bag, because what I end up doing for most jobs, I use all these together at the same time anyways. So then, and I can't get myself and this all in the same picture. So unless I get down on my knees, I hate that about this live, that they don't have the 0.5 is what I always use whenever I film, just because it shows more. So even though that's a bigger bag, I always end up getting out all these tools anyways. So even if it's to where I'm carrying in more stuff, it's not going to bother me, because 9 times out of 10 I get all these out whenever I'm doing a certain job. Because that is a little bit weird how that fits in there. I'm going to have some space on the sides, whereas these actually like fit in there almost perfect. That's something about these, like they fit in there. I still got some room on the side though, so I don't think it's crazy different. Let's see what this looks like. So it's a little bit wider. And I'm not going to use, I think, you know, it's got all these kind of things in there. I don't think I'll end up using any of those. I think they come out. I'm not real sure if they do. Yeah, well, no, actually they don't. Those have Velcro in one spot, but these are actually sewn in right here. But that's all right. It'll still work out. Now these you can take out, and then possibly move some stuff around. So this bottom one's actually a little bit better than that top one, because you got some adjustment to stick stuff in here. So main thing I want is these over here. Some jigsaw. I actually need to blow that stuff off some. And then I'll put the other jigsaw. I think that's going to have to be 2 different things. And that's a little bit tall. I don't know if that's going to zip or not. Yeah, it still will. So like I said, I've got, this was all in just one of these bags. So even if I'm losing this one bag, and I still got a whole nother section that I can stick this other stuff in. So I'll stick the jigsaw blades. This is the adapters. I always keep little parts bags with, like, this is the adapter for the dust collection for the planer. I've also got different stuff that goes on the parts for the saws and stuff like that. Extra planer blades. So I think that'll work like that. I could probably turn this sideways and it wouldn't be as tall. Yeah, that's going to work all right too. So that's everything that was just in this one bag, other than a jigsaw blade that was loose. And like I said, you could still get in there really if you wanted to and put those dividers. I don't know if the top one, yeah, see, these don't really come out. That's kind of silly how they've got this one. It's like, what does it do me to be able to unhook that? Other than I guess you can fold it down to move them out of the way. I guess maybe that would work. That's a little bit weird. So I'm gonna put the detail sander. These should be the detail sanding pads. Yeah, so that's what I do with all my tools, like this kind of stuff. That's why I like the bags. I go ahead and just put a bag inside the tools with the tools that has, like, this has got the sanding pads and stuff for that. So then you can just stick it underneath of it. I think I used that on the one of these. I don't remember what that's for. Maybe it's the, oh, this goes with, so that I can use it on any vacuum hose. So you can take the thing that hooks onto the planer or the jigsaw or whatever, and then that way, no matter what vacuum I have on me. I think this came with one of the air tips that I bought. So I just kept it so that I'd have one in case I got, because sometimes I have my Festool vac with me, and then sometimes I've got my pack out vac that's back in there. I don't know if you can see that or not. That's what I've got. So I probably even put my pin nailer in here as well. Get caught up here. Ted said smash that like button. Appreciate that, buddy. Let's see. Nice idea on the colored zip ties. No offense, but I'd rather see the tools. LOL. Yeah, a lot of people. I don't like leaving my stuff just loose in here, because then you bang it around and all that kind of stuff, and it just keeps. I like to keep stuff with the stuff, and it just makes it easier for me. I'm going to have to show you the pack out inserts I make. Ted said, are they what's the 10 spot or something like that? That Toolin' with Newman's got a lot of them. I've seen him making videos for. Is that something like what you make, Ted? Max said he bought the 6-gallon vacuum motor head that you can plug in. I think it's going to be nice for jobs where I have an outlet. That thing eats even 12.0 batteries. Yeah, it's hard to beat a corded vacuum. Like, I take corded vacuums to job sites. I basically use my pack out one for service calls, and that's about it. Like, to me, you can't use a battery powered vacuum on a job site. It's just, it won't cut it. Ted said yes on the 10 spots. Yeah, I'm going to have to learn the 3D printing one day. I'm going to have to just bite the bullet and spend some time figuring it out and buying myself something. Elliot said he ordered the Klein demo driver from the video. It came today. I'm wanting to go use that bad boy. Yeah, I'm sure there's something outside your house you can go smash. So I'm going to go ahead. Is this the red? Yeah, I know I'm going to put my pin nailer in here. And the stapler, I think I might even put my small brad nailer in this one. I keep it in a drawer. I'll see if I can tilt y'all up. Maybe y'all be able to see me get in there, but I don't want to unhook you. I already probably made you half sick. Let's see if I tilt you up and I open up that little thing, you might can see me. So I've got pack out drawers. I don't know if you can see, but back here I keep my M18 and my M12 brad nailer inside this top drawer, but I tend to use this way more than I'm going to use that stapler with these kind of tools that I've got right here. I just keep this on me because I had room inside that bag in case I run into something. It's very rare that I even need this. I could probably even just keep this here in my garage, but I think if I can fit that inside of there, I'd rather go that route, and I'll put this in that drawer with my bigger brad nailer, or I may end up redoing something, making that drawer something else, because I think I'm going to end up with some more room in this drawer by doing this, because I'm going to end up losing at least probably 2 of the flat ones like this and 1 bag, and surely that's not the equivalent that I've got right there, and that's all going to fit in there just fine. I still got room for other stuff, and I didn't even notice this. It's got a zipper up here, so that's kind of nice. Get this tag off, because that one's now empty. This is something. What was this one? That's the sander stuff. So I'll put that in here, which actually I guess I could, so I don't have to dig out those tools. I'm gonna put this up in here. And then I'll probably go ahead and put some brad nails and pin nails. I keep those in I'll show you that too, but a slim profile organizer with trim nails on it right there. So that's where I've got more of these in my garage over here. I just refill and use this one, but I've got my, hitting that door, flaps wanting to close on me, pin nails, staples for that stapler, the Milwaukee one. Also, I keep my 18 gauge and then my 16 gauge nails inside of here. So I usually just carry this in and set it somewhere whenever I'm doing trim work, and I just pull out of this. But this is going to be a trial for me, this vacuum bag thing. I was just kind of seeing, because like I said, many times I'd come out here and I'd have to dig out my jigsaw bag and then dig out my pin nailer bag and then take my brad nailer in with me whenever you're basically doing some kind of a trim job or something like that. Whereas, and then that's whenever I use this detail sander too. Like if I mostly use this for sanding down door trim after I puttied the holes and all that kind of stuff. So I think even though it's going to be a big bag, going to have a lot of tools in it, it's going to be heavier than carrying the individual bags if I only needed that one tool. But it's pretty rare that I only need one of these tools, so I think this is going to work out better. So you're going to have this right here. Let's see how heavy. Yeah, that's not too bad. I'll take these and put them inside of this for now. So now I've got a Sawzall by itself, but I've also got, let's see what I've got in here. I think this is my M18 sander. Yeah, so M18 sander I keep in there. This is probably something that I don't really need to carry with me in my truck all the time. It could probably stay in my garage, and then if I need it, because I got the detail sander, if I run into something where I'm only needing to sand something real fast, it's probably going to work fine, and I could probably just load this up in my truck the times whenever I specifically need that, and that would save some room. So I've got one free spot for sure. This one's empty as well. Let's see what's in this one. I think is maybe my, yeah. So I got the little cutoff tool, M12, and then inside of that I've also got my paddle grinder, M18. So basically grinding, and then again, parts bags. This has all my, like the covers and stuff for my grinder, and then also all the grinding disc, and then this one's got the vacuum attachment for that 12, for the M12, and all the little grinding discs for that. So those will stay all in the same one. I'm trying to figure out how what else I want to tie the hacksaw in with, but I think I'll probably put it in with my old circular saw. I keep it with a metal blade. This one, blue, is going to be my M12 rotary hammer. This will probably get changed out pretty soon. Once they come out with that new one that's going to have the chisel, I'll probably get rid of this and buy that one. So pretty much use this mostly for tap cons. So I keep 3/16 and 5/32, and I think I also keep a 3/8 in here as well, along with some lube. So that's all that's in there. I keep this one tucked back in the back. And see, just so y'all can see this, because everybody acts like there's no such thing as dirt or anything on my tools. Let's see if I can get zoomed in. Oh, look at that. Of course, that drives me crazy. I don't even know. I'm not sure what that was even from, to be honest with you. Let me check the chat. Dinner's ready. Mike said's got to go. Let's see. Maybe the neighbors have something they won't miss, Elliot said. What's up, TPG? Woodchuck said he's going to look seriously at the new Milwaukee dust extractor when it comes out. Yeah, I had bought that Festool. Of course, I got a crazy deal on mine. I bought it from a buddy of mine who didn't need it at all. He ended up buying the track saw and the Festool vacuum, the CT26 from somebody, and he didn't want the vacuum, and he sold it to me for like $100. So it was crazy. I was like, heck yeah, I'll take that all day long. So back here in the far back, this is the M12 3/8 stubby, M12 high-speed 3/8 ratchet, and then this is a set of sockets for lug nuts and stuff like that. Pretty good set, Lexavon or something like that. It's got the most common sizes kind of right there. I just keep that so I don't have to get out my other ones. A lot of times, if I, like just the other day, a lady had a flat tire out in front of where I was working, and I helped change it to a spare tire. But I also keep the Makita 3/8 sets in there, and that gear wrench, that set of the bolt biters that I had a review for a while back. I keep those in there. I keep these back in the back. I don't really use them for work that much, more so for, you know, emergency purposes. And then in the very, very far back, I keep the 3/8. So I keep this in the back, and then those two things stack on top of it, and it kind of fills up. Because again, I don't need these most of the time for work. Most of the stuff I work on, I can get by with Malcos and flip sockets and stuff like that. But I keep the 3/8 impact set in case I run into something and I need it. You know, I'll have it on me with that M12 stubby and all that stuff. So I keep that way back in the back, as far back as I can push it, with the impact and stubby and all that on top of it, because it's stuff I don't get out that often. Same thing with the hammer drill. I only get this out if I'm doing a bunch of stuff. Like if I'm just doing something small, I'll use my M18 hammer drill or the M12, just a regular, not a rotary hammer, if it's only like one hole. Let's see, what was it? This was the grinder and stuff. That's for sure going to stay. I don't know if I'm going to leave this in here yet. I might keep that out, because I don't like to. I've got room in both my drawers to put more stuff in them, but this is where I come and I load stuff up for jobs, like out of my garage typically, or I throw it like this table saw. I've got a job where I'm going to need that to rip down some trim, so I just throw it in the back. But I still like to I don't like to have my truck like crazy loaded out to where you don't have room to adjust stuff if you need to. I've got enough of these things to. So this side up here in the front are all my like weird stuff. Like this is furniture movers, like the kind of little sliders and stuff for flooring. So if you need to move something for somebody, to maybe you're putting up a light fixture in the middle of a room and they've got a dining table above it and they got hardwood floors, you know, you don't want to just, I'm going to scoot this table, because again, I work by myself. I don't have a second person on the other side to pick it up and move it off to the side. So I'll put these under the feet and then move it out of the way. And then you get into Orange's random weird electric tools. So I've got like my vote claws, my splitter, different things like that inside of here, so that if I'm working on something specific, but I don't need those in my tool bag all the time. This one's network tools, so I got my fluke toner, I've got a mapper, all the kind of, you know, Cat 5 crimper, all that kind of stuff inside of here. This one is parts for the Maleef blower and stuff like that, which actually I could probably keep that out and just put it in here, but I might have other stuff. I don't think so. I think it's just the blower parts, but no, actually this is vacuum attachments. I did have the Maleef blower. So vacuum attachment for my M12 circular saw, vacuum attachment. This one's for, I think, the Jigsaw, the new fuel version. And then here is another, it's for a vacuum hose where you can put it on the pack out back. I ended up buying another one, so I've got two of them just in case. And then here is parts for my heat gun in case I need it. So this one's kind of just a accessories for random tools. And I didn't want to put them in the bag, but I could probably put them in there now. I've got room for it now. Those need to get put up somewhere. This one, blue for water, is random plumbing things that are weird that I don't need all the time. So like the, I can never remember, it's the trap stuff, like the thinner wall stuff, the cutter for that, tool to take off the compression fittings for the valves, the angle stops, and then also I've got the sharp bite removal tool, bunches of caps for shutoffs in case I need them, those kinds of things. Ted said, have a great weekend, y'all. Appreciate that, buddy. So random plumbing tools. So basically up here in the front, this is all the tools that I would want to get out for a specific job, but they're not tools that I want to keep up in my prime space in my drawers because I don't use them all the time. And they're also tools that I don't want to keep in my tool bag because I don't use them all the time. The DB Sachs bag, I keep a couple parts bags back here. So if I want to throw something on real fast, because I also keep a few boxes of some different fasteners back in this side as well. For some reason, I got a couple burnt up Sawzall blades laying down here. Let's see, this one is my tire repair kit. So some Knipex needle nose, and then also some plugs and all the stuff you need to install a plug. I tend to try to help people out all the time if I see them on the side of the road, but also seems like my kids get more stuff in their tires. It's always weird to me because I work in construction and I very rarely have anything in my tires, but my kids get them all the time. So that's all up here in the front. I keep these little small parts bags, all that stuff. These I need to do something with. I'm gonna set these over here real fast. I lost the phone. There we go. Let's see, Timinator, what's up, buddy? Steve Jensen, I repiped a boiler today for work. All the pipe wrenches were used and all pipe wrenches are still dirty. On another note, 4-foot pipe wrenches are terrible. Yeah, you got to break out the 4-footer. You had a fun day. I would say you had to use them all. So this side, I just keep my Stratos vest. I keep that down in here. I don't keep the Diamondback pouch in here because I keep tools in it. And I don't have a big rust problem back here, but there are certain tools. I don't know if it's the steel makeup of them or whatever, depending upon the time of year. And it's not so much if they're in my deck drawers as much as if they're up here in my cab. You know, I live in a pretty humid area. Certain tools rust easier, so I tend to not leave those kind of tools like on my vest. This is just bare vest. I take my pouches and add them to it whenever I actually get the vest out. And then I've got some really long screws. I got these on clearance at Home Depot, 4-inch. And then I got some 5-inch. These are just random ones that, you know, I like to have on me in case I need to really sock it to something, or even more so, get something in somewhere to where I can still pull on it or whatever. So I always like to have some really long screws with me. M12 circular saw outside of a bag. I don't keep this one in a bag because I use it all the time. Like, I get this thing out all the time. And same thing with the rear handle. I don't have it in a bag because it's huge and it's kind of silly to put it in a bag. So those are really about the only two, other than I do have some tools back here in the back, but they're not as common use either. So here is my 3-foot by, I think, 12-foot drop cloth. I kind of just put it in here to cushion those two saws. And then back in here, I've got some more tools. These are my not used as much tools. So in here is the other older M12 circular saw. And I have taken and put in a metal blade on this one, so that mainly I've used this for the most part of tearing out like old storm doors, and then I cut them up and cut them into pieces and put them in the back of my truck and haul them off to throw them away. But anything like that, you know, you just run into something where you need to cut something, that's where I'm going to put that other Sawzall. I think whatever I did with that bag, maybe I set it over here, be my green up here. So I think this will still fit down in here. It will. So that's going to get rid of me another one of those. And I probably use both of those about the same amount. Like, I don't use that little hacksaw Sawzall that much anymore either. It's pretty much, an oscillating tool has taken over a lot of what I used to use a Sawzall for. That's kind of a tight fit in that bag, but that's fine because, again, I don't use it that often. Back here, this would be the bandsaw, little M12. This is the original one. I still haven't bought the fuel one. I'd like to get the fuel one. And then the M12 copper cutter. I don't use those every day, so I don't keep them. Basically, that drawer is my main tools that I use drawer. This drawer is the tools I don't use as much, and then my two circular saws that I use all the time. And then I've got one more bag that is my drywall tools, but it's like drywall, like I'm installing quite a bit of drywall. So I've got my M18 drywall gun, the collated screw attachment was in here, but the bag was open, so now it's all down in here. So that goes in this bag along with the extra bits. Pretty much every time I buy a tool, I look up the parts that I would need for it, and I go ahead and buy them, and I have them. I don't wait until I need them. I also keep extra bits for my cutout tool in here. There's the wrench to change that out, so I've got several extra bits of those. And then I'm not real sure why I've got these in here. I must have just had them left over. I don't normally put those in there, but it actually doesn't hurt to have some of those in there in case I'm just doing something fast. But if I'm only doing a patch or something, I don't get this out to put in a patch. I just use my M12 Surge or whatever and just pay attention to how I put the screws in. So I don't get this one out all the time, but it's still easy for me to get to if I need to back there. I think that's pretty much it. That's all I keep in my drawer. So there's the drywall. There's my old saw. I put the stuff back in the back that I don't use that often. So there's that. That is my, what did I say that one was? I don't have these bags marked just because I know which side's what. I can tell whenever I hold on to them. So that's the bandsaw and the M12. I can normally tell, but I've gotten, since I put that old circular saw in a bag, it kind of reminds me of that bandsaw. Used to, I could just do that and I know what it was. Then I just put that in there. Rear handle. M12. And then my vest. Somehow or other I made some extra room there. So I actually freed up quite a bit of space, I think, because this isn't going to take up that much room. Hopefully it shuts. Yeah, so we're good. And see, I can still push that off. I can still put stuff in here. Up here, I've got M12 inflator, just some random washers, a bunch of different ones, a panel gripper right there, parts for my third hand, the bigger feet, shrink wrap. If I go and get trim and I need to put it up on the top, I go ahead and shrink wrap that all together. Just some ratchet straps, random ratchet straps, a faucet sprayer, garden hose sprayer, whatever you want to call that. I very seldom use this. I could probably take this out too, but sure enough, as soon as I take it out, I'm going to go somewhere and wish I had it. This is why I like the M12 inflator too. I had thought about buying the M18, but you can't beat the size of this thing to fit inside of somewhere. It's just too nice. So I still got plenty, like I've got a ton of room back there. I still don't think I'm gonna put my M18 sander. I'm just gonna keep it in my garage. Let's see. Do you still rock the Holstery Joey pouch? What's your go-to pouch setup for small jobs? Yeah, it's pretty much Holstery Joey pouches. That's, for the most part, that's all I use. As far as for holding fasteners, I don't use them for tools that much. I know a lot of people use them for tools. I typically only use mine for fasteners. I've got one right there that I keep with drywall screws in it in my drywall stuff all the time. And then I've got like 3 of them up there in my truck. One of them I use for framing screws, and the other ones are where I just get them out for whatever the job is. And then I do have that DP Sax. I made a video for that comparing it. I don't like it as well. It's just it's nowhere near the same thing, It's nice. It's kind of weird how where the clip is on it, in my opinion. I don't mind using it. It's not bad to use. I just prefer the Joey pouches. And I think the upholstery joy pouches are way more expensive than these. So, that's what you got to take in consideration. Is this as functional? Probably so, but I just don't like it as well. It's not as good in my opinion. But I do like the upholstery joy pouches. They're the best pouches I found so far. I was getting ready to say I'm going to move you back over there so I can sit down somewhere, but I guess I can sit here. Do you ever worry about people breaking into your truck and stealing your tools? Just whenever I'm at certain places working, but I'm really like on it as far as I don't leave anything, like even if I'm just walking in a door and coming right back out, like I lock everything, like because that's how it happens most of the time in my city that I work in, is people are going in somewhere just for a second and they leave it unlocked and then they come back out and somebody had enough time to grab something out of it. They might not rob their whole truck, but they'll grab something out of it. As far as here at my house, I live in a place where people just don't do that. They know that it's a bad thing if you go and steal something around my neck of the woods, because I've got cameras everywhere. Like you're not gonna be at my truck or my garage and me not know it. And stuff happens to people who steal stuff. It's the old Jason Aldean song. What's up, Budsville, USA? Timinator said it fits. Yeah, luckily I still live in a pretty decent town. There isn't a lot of theft and stuff, which usually most of the time the theft stuff goes with places that have big drug problems. And 9 times out of 10, that's who's stealing your stuff. It's people just stealing it so that they can sell it for nothing and go buy their fix or whatever it is and see who they can sell it to. I think that's why Facebook Marketplace is so bad, because everybody thinks that if you're selling tools on there, that's what you are. Everybody always tries to get stuff from you for nothing on there because they think, well, this person just wants to sell it to get some drug money. But what's up, Apache? Doing pretty good, buddy. How about yourself? So how many of y'all live somewhere where the hurricane coming through has just been like crazy? I mean, like I said, I don't watch the news a lot, but I saw some footage on some YouTube videos from some news channels from North Carolina, around the Biltmore Estate type area. I don't know, it was at Asheville or something like that. I can't remember what the name of the place was, but it was pretty freaking crazy. Pretty crazy. Waiting for shopping, wife. This is perfect. So do you have the purse in your hand, Gusty? You one of those waiting for your shopping, wife, or you got to hold the purse? What's up, Someway? Yeah, this camper topper too. Also, H Moob Maca. I'm horrible with whatever with your name. I don't know if it's H Moob or Hamoob, but this has made a world of difference to me, because back whenever I first started out on my own, like before I worked on my own, I worked at a place and it was one campus, even though it was multiple buildings. Like nobody was on that campus unless they were on that campus for a reason type thing. So I didn't have to worry about, if I could put a miter saw in the back of my truck and drive it around to the jobs or do whatever. And then if I went to the store or whatever, it wasn't a big deal. I just didn't have stuff in the back of my truck because I was at my job. I could just unload stuff, put it in the garage or whatever it was. But now coming from my house, I don't live in the town that I work in. I actually have to drive to it. For the most part, most of my job is in the main city and I live in a rural area. But, that was a big problem whenever I first started. I had my deck drawers and I had my cover. And I had certain tools, like I had specifically bought a Skill miter saw that folded over flat, and I hated it as far as a miter saw, but it still worked. It was okay, and it would fit under there. But because the biggest problem was, if I went to go do a job, but then I needed to go to Home Depot to go get some materials, it's like, well, what am I supposed to do with, my tools that I've got? Like I could drive them to the job site and just have them sticking out and do whatever. It's not a big deal, but it's like I can't go in a store and just leave my Milwaukee miter saw sitting out here in the back of my truck, because I guarantee you whenever I come out, it's not going to be there. So this camper topper is worth every penny, in my opinion, just for that alone. But then also it's just the weather aspect of it. I don't have to think about that anymore. And then there's days where I'm tired at the end of the day and I'm getting done, and all this stuff that I just put in these drawers, maybe I don't feel like putting it in there just right, and I just set it up here on the top of this, shut my lid, do it whenever I get home later or whatever it is. It's been super nice. I actually had a truck with a camper topper on it a long time ago that I bought just for personal use, and it came on there when I bought it, and I hated it. Like, as soon as I bought that truck, I'm like, as soon as I get home, that camper topper is coming off because I couldn't see anything. I just didn't like the look of it. But as far as for on a work truck and you get this commercial type thing, I think it's pretty nice. And I'm actually glad that I kept looking for one that had the boxes on the side to where whenever I opened those outside doors, I'd have boxes to store stuff in. But I'm actually glad that mine doesn't have that, because with the deck drawers, whenever I open those up, I can basically reach everything like in my truck bed, because I'm not reaching down into my truck bed. Everything's at a level to where I can reach from the outside over into the middle. So it's made it to where I've got more room inside of my cab or inside of my truck to be able to put stuff like a table saw and a miter saw. Because if I had those boxes coming over to like here this way, you know, there isn't as much room, and then I couldn't get to anything in the back unless I actually unloaded and crawled up in here. So I'm actually glad I didn't find one, because I was really looking for one for a long time. In fact, I found this one and I kind of held off on buying it because I was looking for one that had the boxes already in it. And then I'd kind of decided, well, I'm just going to go ahead and buy this one, and then I'll get somebody to bend me some metal and I'll make my own boxes. But then as I started using this like this, I decided, no, I'm actually going to, like, it worked for me like this better. So I decided I was going to leave it that way. So, but I don't think I could go back to working for my job that I specifically do without this camper topper, or going to a van or something like that. I couldn't go back to just a truck with a bed and, you know, no cover or anything like that. I don't think I could do it. Elliott Parish, we got 8 inches of rain, but that was it. East and north of us got it far worse. That's all we got, which I'm, you know, far inland in Kentucky, so we didn't expect to get anything like really bad. We just knew we was going to get a lot of rain, but we didn't even get as much as what they thought. So I think we got like maybe 5 inches total over the course of 2 days. Most of it came on the Friday. I think maybe 3.5, and then we got like it. But it was like the good thing for us was it was like a slow, steady rain. Like it rained for a long time, but it wasn't just like buckets being poured out. Gusty Oinker, if you love coffee, you need to get an Ember mug. Well, I'll screenshot that and I'll look that up. Ember mug. Nasty Nate said, hang on, let me save that. There we go. Nasty Nate said, family in Georgia. Georgia electric crews are working around the clock to restore power. Yeah, I think a lot of the trucks from our area actually they're down there right now, like the service trucks and those kinds of things. I bet the union linemen are making bank chasing that hurricane restoration job. Yeah, there's a lot of, like, it's one of those things where it ends up being good for some people, just financially wise, and then it's devastating for some people. And I'm sure like all the building supplies like are going to go through the roof again. Certain ones like OSB and all that kind of stuff. I expect that to happen pretty soon, probably. Wiped out the beaches by me, Lockhammer said. Dun, dun, dun. I might go ahead and I won't need to do anything else in there. I just noticed my salt and pepper shakers were inside of that bag. I was wondering what I did with those. I need to go take them in the house and fill them up. But I'm going to move over here. Let's see. Coffee's got cold. If y'all haven't watched the Roxy Vaughn or Rovy Vaughn video, I'm doing a giveaway of that light, so you got to put the right hashtag and all that stuff in that video. But if y'all haven't seen that one yet, it's this dude here. So I've got it back in the box, ready for whenever I do the giveaway for that. I might also, I haven't decided yet, I might give away some other stuff in that same live and then just figure out. I haven't decided how I'm gonna go about doing that yet, but I'll give this away based on the comments on that video, like I said, with the hashtag and all that. But there might be some other stuff in that live that I give away as well. I've got another thing over here that I've already made a video for that somebody sent me also, but I'm waiting for them to okay. Like, I had to send them the video. They don't want to okay as far as the video. They're not going to make me change anything because it is what it is. But they always like to look at the description just to make sure I've got their links right and all that stuff before I release it. And I think the guy's on vacation or something like that. So I've actually had that filmed for a while, but waiting for them to get back with me. Elliot said, finally gave in, ordered one of those Hultifor electrician hammers. Now it's shipping from Great Britain. I bet our ports being closed will delay it. Yeah, probably so. A lot of stuff, that's going to impact us pretty bad, I think. Because you just think about how much stuff isn't made here and ships around, it's going to be a lot of stuff. Port worker strike's going to make the cost of goods soar. I hear people are already starting to hoard products again. Yeah, it's probably going to get pretty bad with that. Hopefully it doesn't go on for very long, but I'd say it's going to be pretty bad. And again, I don't even know exactly what I don't watch the news. Like, I purposely try not to watch very much news. I'm a hermit. I stay off of most social media. I don't watch the news. Costco by me already out of toilet paper. People are panicking. That's crazy. What kind of jobs are the most you gain financially? I like to think electrical. I pretty much charge the same no matter what I'm doing. I kind of got how much I want to make a day thing. So I don't really ever on service calls and stuff like that. Sometimes I charge more based upon what it is. If it's electrical or plumbing versus just, doing something that's simple, just because of the risk of, like, you go install somebody a faucet or something like that, or you change out something and then it leaks, and after maybe it doesn't leak the whole time you're doing it, but even let's say hypothetically you put in new supply lines and then you get a bad one or something like that, and it causes it to leak just a little while, you have to have some money in it, because if it's really not worth doing for the risk on some things, if you really start thinking about it, to do certain jobs. So you got to make it worth taking on the risk on certain things. So I charge more on service calls for things that could bite you if a product fails or whatever. But for the most part, doing the bigger jobs is what really you make really good money on, because it just depends on how you structure how you do your work. But like, especially if you go, if I do a job and then I like a big job and I have subs and buying all the materials and all those things, and you start marking up all that stuff because you're taking the risk of that, well, who knows, this person might not pay you, or you've got all your money tied up in these materials and you're not going to get paid for 60 days or whatever it is. You need to they've got to understand that you're not just their bank and you're going to roll their project for them and all those kinds of things. So that's where you can make a lot of money. Like, again, sometimes on those jobs I do that, and sometimes I don't. Depends on who the customer is and those kinds of things, and how what kind of relationship I have with them. If I know 100% they're going to pay me and it's not as big a risk, and those kinds of things. But those kind of jobs pay the most by far. So like, if you ever go, it's the same thing I always say to people, if you can go into business yourself, that's how you make money. Because you go work for somebody, you're going to make X amount of dollars an hour. You can make a good living, and you can live that way, and you can save up money, and you can make plenty of money working for somebody if they pay you what you deserve, those kinds of things. But if you can ever be working and then have other people working for you, or even you're cutting out the middleman of, even if you work for a company and they pay you hypothetically, let's say $40 an hour, well, they're charging $80 an hour for you. So they're making another 40, but they're paying for, the person who's writing your checks, and the person who's, scheduling out your job, the person who's going and estimating. So that's why that money, they're still paying other people. But if you start doing it by yourself, it's more work, because now you're having to fill those roles. You're now having to be the estimator. You're now having to be, the person who's writing the checks and doing the books and then doing all that stuff. But I'm also making $80 an hour now instead of the 40. So it's kind of to me, it's not the same as like you say they take three people to do all that work at that big for that big company, but they're not. It doesn't really take three people to do that much work. If you're not doing like $2 million jobs or anything like that. Like you're doing really big jobs that big, you need that many people because it's a lot of work to do the financials for that kind of a job. It's a lot of work to estimate that kind of job. But the kind of jobs I'm doing, I basically get to fill all those hats and make all the money for those hats. But in the sense of service calls and stuff like that, electrical and plumbing and stuff like that pays the most for me just because I charge a little bit more because of the risk value in it. Me going and putting trim in somebody's house. Not that I'm saying that's any less worthy of money, but there's less risk in it for me. That's why I don't charge as much for going and putting in trim or putting in a door. It takes just as much skill and as much knowledge, but typically I'm not going to flood someone's house or burn it down or risk something like that. So I charge more whenever I do the other stuff. And also because I'm still cheaper than if they call a company and they send out an electrician or a plumber, I'm always going to be cheaper than them, even if I charge more. But with a carpenter and stuff like that, I'm probably in that same ballpark as them. So I have to be competitive. If that makes sense. I don't know if that does or not. What's up, Plumbing McQuise? I heard that people are hoarding toilet paper. I work with the union, and my contractor has a job out at a paper mill that makes toilet paper and paper towels. I'm like, what shortage? Elliot says he knows a plumber with a yacht. I know of a plumber with a yacht. Yeah, you can make crazy good money doing the work we do. Like it always bugs me whenever all these people for years have just told people you don't need to go into this work. It's like job security for one, because there's never enough people that's been doing it since I've been doing it. Now there's even less now, but the whole time I've been working in this kind of stuff, there's never been enough people doing it. Now there was a period of time where you had to be more competitive because there was at least several people, but nowadays, I mean, it's all you want for the most part in my area, and from what I gather from talking with other people, it's that way in a lot of the country. Is pretty much just bombarded with the amount of work that you could possibly have. In fact, the Angie's List people and stuff like that, they called me. I guess they probably go through whenever you fill in for a business license and stuff like that. They see your name, they start calling you, and the guy called me like maybe 4 or 5 months into me starting out on my own, and was like, "Oh, I can get you hundreds of leads, like, and it only costs you X amount of dollars a month, and I can just get you leads like crazy, all the work that you could want." And I told him, I said, "I'm turning down like a crazy amount of work now because I can't do it all." I was like, "So why would I pay you money just to give me more stuff that I get to turn down?" I was like, "If I ever need you, I'll call you, but I don't see it happening in that case." I was just out there 2 hours ago. They got toilet paper stacked by pallets, no shortages there. Well, they're going to hold it back until everybody thinks there's a shortage, and then they're going to up the price on that Charmin. It's going to cost you more money. Linemen and union elevator constructors make really good money. If you want to make the most money, then open your own company. If you want to be an employee, join the union. Yeah, like I said, the most money is to run your own business, but I said that in I don't even remember what I called that video. I don't remember if it was on my first year as a self-employed, whatever, because, I've done both. I've worked, which for the most part, I always work for somebody. This is actually my first time 100% by myself. I've been a self-employed person, but kind of working for somebody where I was, my own thing, but I still kind of work for somebody. Now it's 100% just me. And there's benefits to both. And like I said, in my younger days, I kind of like the idea of I just worked for somebody. They took care of everything else. And then I just showed up for work and I did the work and all that. And I just did whatever I did. But I worked a lot of hours. I was able to get overtime, all those kinds of things. And then now I like my freedom more so than I like that. and I've got more freedom working for myself, and I make more money in all reality. I have more time off, but I'm either making the same amount of money as what I was making working for somebody, working a lot of hours. So that ends up saying basically I make more money because I'm working less and making the same. I could make, you know, double of what I was making if I wanted to stay stressed and like this jam packed, 7 days a week, 10, 15, 10 to 12 hours a day, but I don't want to do that at this point in my life. I don't need to. I did that a lot whenever I was younger. I'm not going to do that now. But it's a trade off. Like I said, there's some people where working for somebody and not having the stress of needing to find the work. And then also, like I said, I used to just like, and I still am that way, I like to just do the work. I don't, if I could get out of doing the whole management side of things and all that kind of stuff and the invoicing, I don't mind doing it, but I like just doing the work. But it's a trade-off. I do that other work so that I can have the freedom to choose the work that I want to take on, to choose the customers that I want to work for, choose the jobs that I want to do, choose the hours that I want to work. I get to choose everything. But that comes at, I also have to do all the bookkeeping. I've got to do all the scheduling. I've got to do all the invoicing, estimating. I've got to do all the everything. I've got to do it all. But I get to make more money because I'm taking on all those hats. So I'm doing the jobs of what some of those people pay people sitting in an office to do, but I get to make that money for myself instead of having them pay somebody else for that. Let's see. I found an inspirational quote concerning buying expensive tools worth sharing. The bitterness of poor quality remains long after the excitement of cheap price is forgotten. Yeah, very true. Like I've never spent a lot of money on a tool and then been sad about it for the most part. Like it's been very rare that you'll get a dud if it's because there's a reason why something costs what it does for the most part. In tools especially, like people know what their product is worth, especially if it's something that it's the only one out there, for a long time. That's just like the track saws for a long time. Festool was about it. And, it was priced because it was worth having, and if you wanted a good quality track saw, that was it. And you had to buy it. But I guarantee you anybody that bought a Festool track saw that needed a track saw at the time was like, I love this thing. Never mad about it. Abraham Perez, I was just thinking, man, Joey must be super busy. Haven't seen any new videos. LOL. Great to see you and everyone. I have been. This week's been pretty crazy. And then also just, I haven't had a lot of, like, there's not been a lot of new tools or anything coming out. Now, I did see Last Best Tool, and then Brian Hall sent me an email. New twin grips coming out from Knipex, a smaller set and a bigger set. I'll for sure buy the smaller set. I don't know about the bigger set yet, but I will buy that smaller. I think it's going to be a 150 pair. And then maybe they had like I think the one that's out now is a 200. So I think it's a 150 and a 250 of the Knipex twin grips that they're coming out with. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll for sure buy that. But there hadn't really been anything, hadn't been any good clearance deals at any place I've went in the last week. There's not been any real new tools out for quite some time. This year's been kind of slow. Like Klein's been killing it with a lot of stuff. But for the most part, all the other brands, I mean, Milwaukee and all them power tool companies have come out with new like stuff, but it's typically just been the same tool, just a newer version or something like that. So I picked up a few of those this year, but nothing crazy. It's not been as big of a tool year, in my opinion, as what like some of the years have been in the past, or at least for the kind of tools I use. Now, maybe there's some other specific trades where they've just come out with tons of stuff, but I haven't seen anything. Elliot says general handyman work, plumbing, HVAC is going for 100 to 200 an hour here. Yeah, that's typically, now my area, like in my area, like a good job used to be, of course nowadays they pay fast food workers and stuff this much, but used to be like if you made $15 to $20 an hour in my area, that was considered good. Now it's kind of went up some in the last few years just because they've had to, because if fast food's going to pay $12 or $13 an hour, then why would I work at this harder job for $12 an hour whenever I can go work as a cashier or something like that? And again, I'm not dogging anybody that's a cashier or whatever. I'm just saying if I have the option of digging a ditch for $12 an hour or working a cash register for $12 an hour, which one am I going to pick? But for the most part, that's kind of what I end up making. That's not necessarily what I tell people that that's what I'm charging, but my minimum fee to go for a service call is $100, and that's basically the first hour and then me getting there. So that's my travel time to get there, and then me working for up to an hour on a service call where I don't know what it is type thing. Now, most of the time though, people will call me over the phone or send me a text, and if they want to change out a faucet or do whatever, I can just give them a price of whatever I normally. It's up to this much. It might be cheaper type thing. I have a weird way of price, but all my customers are kind of like people that they only use me. So I have a system kind of in my head. It's not necessarily one that's 100% the same all the time, but that's typically, it ends up being to where whenever I average out based on my jobs, like I keep a spreadsheet of every job that I work, how much I make, minus materials, minus any other expenses. I keep up with the hours that I physically work on each job. And then basically I know how much I made on every job per hour. I know how much I made over the course of the year per hour. And I typically average out to where I'm making like $75 to $100 an hour, somewhere around in there most of the time on most jobs that I work. I don't, now whenever I price stuff, I don't price it that I'm going to make that much, but that's what I end up making because I either worked faster and got something done faster because I did stuff certain ways. I just become really efficient at whatever it was, because you have to plan on, especially on bid jobs, you can't plan on everything's going to go right. Everything's going to be exactly what I expect. Everything's going to go to a T, because then it won't happen. And you're going to end up losing, but if you bid it, say you plan to make $45 an hour, $50 an hour, and you planned on 10 hours, but then you get it done in 6 or 7, then your hourly rate goes up at that point. So that's kind of, but my average out comes out to be about $75 or $80 an hour. And again, some jobs I might make $150 an hour, and some jobs I might make 40, but average wise, that's what it kind of comes out to. Let's see. A lot of people want stuff done for next to free around here. Yeah, I can always tell that whenever the person calls me, so I typically don't do much work for those people. I don't, that's the reason why I don't give out my phone number. I don't hand out business cards. I don't advertise. I got enough business because it's crazy. Again, like I said, I can't explain to you enough how much work there is out there, that I just assume the only way that I get people get in touch with me is because somebody told them about me and they already know what they're expecting and all that kind of stuff, what they're going to get. Abraham Perez says, I make $17 as a first year apprentice with an IEC in Dallas. Yeah, but this is what I was talking about a minute ago. By the time you probably got insurance, they probably buy and provide your tools. You might even be in a company vehicle. You've got somebody doing your estimating. You've got somebody finding your jobs. You've got somebody doing all those things. So that's the thing. Some of your money is going to all that stuff, whereas I can make that because I'm doing all that. That's why I was saying if you get into running your own business, but again, it's not for everybody. I'll just tell you now, it could be, I could see it being crazy stressful. I wouldn't have wanted to do this when I was younger and I was worried about, I had younger kids in the house and it's like, well, what if I don't have enough work? All those kinds of things. I'm not worried about any of that right now. Plus it's just come out to where I don't think there's any way I could not have enough work, but your $17 an hour is actually more than $17 an hour. You have to take all that stuff in consideration, that a lot of the stuff that I'm having to pay for, that I might make $50 an hour where you're making 17 on the same type of job, is because I had to provide all the tools, I had to provide my own truck, I had to provide my own insurance, workers' comp, business license. You go on down the list, that starts eating into it. And in the big scheme of things, we probably don't, at the course of the end of the year, we probably end up making close to the same. I just work less hours to make the same amount of money as you, is what it comes out to be. So that's what makes me end up making more money. Luckily, I don't have kids or pay rent, so I get by, he said. So basically, I'm working on getting my electrical journeyman's license. Roberto Ramirez says, might as well just do electrical handyman work after my shift. If you get caught working on the side without your master's license or contractor's license, then you may lose your journeyman license if the state license finds out. I understand. So how does one handyman get around doing electrical? Probably tied onto a handyman license. Yeah, and everything that y'all are talking about is going to be like location specific. It's going to depend on where you live, what all you can do. There's certain things that in certain states where someone can do a whole lot more stuff than others. That's like even like where I live as a homeowner, you can do just about anything to your own house. You still have to pull permits and stuff like that, but I could build a house and wire my whole house and plumb the whole house and install everything else. And as a homeowner, I'm allowed to do that. I still have to get it inspected. So a lot of times inspectors are a little bit harder on the homeowners whenever they go out to the house to inspect stuff, as they probably should be. If you need to make sure they know what they're doing, and all those kinds of things. But and then in some places, a handyman can't do any electrical, and then in some places you can do all sorts of electrical. It just depends on, where you live and those kinds of things. Terry said, "Did you finish the recruiting office job?" I'm actually waiting on I've got the framing's done, the drywall's all hung, the door frames are in. There were metal door frames where I had to put them in while we were framing. Got all the drywall hung, got it finished, sanded and all that stuff, waiting on the painters. And then I got to go back and put in the drop ceiling. And this is phase one. Once I get done with that, they're moving the Marines and everything else into that area, and then we're doing more work where they were. So I think it's going to be like 3 phases total on that. But we're pretty much almost done with phase one. All I got left to do is put in a drop ceiling, but I got to wait for the painters. Handyman shouldn't really do specialized trades like that, but they do. Just know that if a house burns down or flood, the homeowner will come after you for damages. Yeah, if you don't know what you're doing, for sure, you shouldn't be doing it. But as I've said before, and I know that you're in the union, you're an electrician and all those things, but I've had electricians come work for me before and do work like as the facilities manager and didn't know, like, and they were licensed and everything else, and they did shoddy work and didn't half the time know what they were doing. And I've seen people who aren't master electricians or journeymen or anything else, I've seen them care more about what they do. So I always say you got to pay attention to who it is that you're hiring. Now, if your insurance, if in that case, what you're saying, again, it depends on how your insurance and all that stuff's wrote up and all that stuff, but you might end up not getting your claim paid if you had some work done by somebody that wasn't a licensed something or other. It just depends on how all your stuff's wrote. And again, depends on where you live and all sorts of things. I've seen a lot of handyman that are better at, and I'm not just saying electrical. I've seen handyman that are better at plumbing. I've seen handyman that are better at carpentry than carpenters. I've seen all sorts of, stuff. What's up, Stagner? Billy Stagner. Contractors must be insured and bonded. It's to protect you and the client. How many hours do you typically work in a week? For the most part, usually probably just physical working, probably like 35 to 40, and then I come home and do all my paperwork and stuff. So I probably put in like 40 to 45 hours a week in my business as far as sending out estimates, figuring up stuff, ordering things, all those kinds of stuff. But physical working, it's probably around 35, maybe a little less. I tend to try to get done a little bit early in the afternoons and then come home and do all my paperwork or go order stuff or pick up stuff on my way home for the next day. And again, I could work 60, 70, 80 hours a week if I wanted to with the amount of work but I'm not at that point where that's what I want to do anymore. I've done that before. I'm just not, I'm at a stage in my life where I'm looking to work. If I could work 30 hours a week, I'd do it. But I have so much work that I can't even make myself do that because then I'd be upsetting people. Robert Anthony, God bless you, brother. What's your EDC? I just carry a Milwaukee Fastback. For the most part, that's all that's in my pocket. Now, as far as in my pouch that I'll typically throw on my MP2X every time I walk in somebody's house. But now I started carrying my Atlas vest, and inside of that I've got a light, a pair of Cobras, a pair of pliers, wrench, and all that. So that EDC is kind of turned into my vest that I put on. and so it allows me to carry more things as an EDC. But for the most part, as far as in my pocket, just day to day, every single day, a Milwaukee Fastback with the one with the screwdriver, the 1505. That's pretty much what I carry inside of mine. Definitely getting a small spring grip, Lockhammer said. What's up, Bruce? Hey, everyone. Man, I'm late. I read that as man, I just ate, but it says man, I am late. Yeah, she's still walking. I don't think she's got home yet. I haven't seen her pull in. I've got the garage door open, so I'll be able to see this time. Which she told me she might go to Bucky's, or I don't know if you call it Bucky's or Boosie's or how you call it, but she told me she might go there after she gets done walking and get some brisket. So I don't know. She might be going to there. Let's see. I think I'm caught up on. I don't think I missed anybody. I'm double checking, making sure I didn't miss somebody. I carry a Benchmade with me at all times, the Mini Adamas. Yeah, I've never been a big knife person. Like, I'm sure it's something that, which I wasn't really a big flashlight person, but then all these people started sending me some, and it's made me kind of start buying or start looking at flashlights more and realizing how you can get one that actually works pretty well, like has a lot more features and stuff. And maybe I'd be that way about knives. I've just never been a big knife. I've always carried utility blades just because it's just so easy to change them out and all that stuff. I do have a Milwaukee. I bought a fastback that has the fixed blade on it, but I very seldom get it out. I mostly just got it to open certain things because it just seems like it does better than the razor blade knife. But as far as carrying one on me, just to make sure I can always change the blade out and make it sharp real fast, I've always just kind of used the kind where you can change the blades out. Let's see. Plum Quaz never had brisket. Need to try some. It's pretty good. A lot of people. I mean, I like it. It's not. It's not crazy. Like, ooh, I just love to have me some. But maybe I've not had the right kind. I've only kind of got it. We're not real big known for barbecue or anything in my area, but I've never ate brisket like in Texas or something like that. But it's basically a form of barbecue, but it's beef instead of pork. So, but it is pretty good. Are you wanting to buy any particular tools during the Black Friday sales? I'll see if there's anything, but Amazon's Black Friday, like the last several years, I haven't seen anything like just like, ooh, I have to have that type deal. Now, Home Depot is usually the place. Like, I'll look and see what they have. Sometimes I've got some really good deals, but most of the time they put all their stuff on sale like even early to where it's still the same stuff. They might have a few things. I never go to the store. Like, if I can buy it online, I will. Like, I don't do that going out on Black Friday and going to the stores. I did that one year at Walmart to buy a TV with my brother-in-law, and we went and waited in a line to get a ticket to get the TV. And I mean, I bet we were in that line for like 2 or 3 hours. And then we had to wait in line with the ticket to pay for the TV. We were probably in that line for like 2 to 3 hours. And I finally just told him, I'm like, and then after you went and paid for it, you had to go get in your car and get in a line in your car to drive around the building to pick up your TV. I bet when it was all said and done, you'd have like 10 hours in that. And like, you're only saving like a couple $100 or whatever on a TV. I'm like, I would have just as soon went and worked for 10 hours and paid full price for this thing than to do that. I was like, I'll never do this again. Like, ain't no way. I wouldn't. It's just, I'm not a big crowd like person. Like, I just don't do that. I can't stand being in big crowds of people anymore. Didn't bother me whenever I was younger. I mean, it doesn't bother me now. It's not like I get in a big crowd and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? I just don't like being in big crowds of people just because it's a bunch of people. Do you do any grilling? If so, what grill do you use and what's your go-to meat to cook? Robert Anthony said, I don't grill a lot. Like every now and then during the summertime, I'll grill some steaks and bratwurst and stuff like that, but it's very rare. Most of the time, I just fix stuff in my air fryer in the house, or I got cast iron skillets and stuff that I usually cook steaks and stuff in too. But I'm a big steak person, and ribeyes are my favorite as far as a steak to eat. And then I'm typically a medium rare person. Medium rare going more towards not, I'd rather have it more rare than more medium as far as my steak as well. But I typically like ribeyes the most. How hard is it starting out on your own, and how did you find your first clients? So I've got a video that kind of goes through a lot of my advantages, because I always try to make sure and tell people whenever like, that's why whenever I said that today, I always like to preface it with, just because somebody else starts a business and they are successful doesn't mean that you can start the same business and you be successful. And the same thing as if they fail doesn't mean that you're going to fail if you do it as well, because we're all starting in a different situation. Like, I had a lot of advantages. One is my wife gets all our insurance through her office, through her work. So I didn't like, that's the whole reason why I still worked at the place where I worked. For a big reason was because our whole family's insurance was on it. Well, then once she was able to get it and it wasn't going to cost us an arm and a leg, that was a big pushing point. Well, I don't have to factor that into how much do I need to make so I can pay this big premium for insurance every month and all, because it's really expensive. Your employer pays quite a big chunk if they give you any kind of deal on insurance, because I've had to buy it for myself before as a self-employed person working for somebody else, like a 1099 employee. And it's expensive. It's crazy expensive. So you take that out of the picture. And again, I've been buying tools for years. Even though I worked for somebody, I bought my own tools. Even though they would provide me with some, I bought my own tools because I liked having my own tools. I didn't like sharing them with a bunch of people and them not treating them well, all that stuff. I already had my truck. It's paid for, all that stuff. I don't have a bill for that. So it cost me nothing whenever I started out on my own. So a lot of people aren't going to have that. I mean, you got to, again, if I was to do this whenever I was in my 20s, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Just bottom line. So it's a little bit different for me where I'm at right now. That's why I say you got to really think about it first. Don't just say because, well, Joey said that he makes a lot of money and it's this and that. And it's like, well, that's because of the situation that I'm in and where I work at and the city that I live in, and the fact that everybody needs people that do the work that I do. My town has so much work. It's crazy, that all those kinds of things. But to go into that, I talked about it in that video. I was a facilities manager for a campus, so I oversaw all the projects. I did all the work too as well. I was a working facilities manager. I wasn't just a project manager type thing. But I always had more work than what I could do, so I would hire trades. Like I'd hire electricians, plumbers, and all those things to come in on jobs. I always got to where I'd hire the same ones once I found somebody I liked working with. So I've worked with a lot of contractors over the years, and then I even went and worked in a commercial construction business for a few years as well. And so I also met with some clients at commercial jobs, and they got to know me because I was doing project management and estimating and overseeing projects with them. So I was basically one-on-one with the customers of those jobs and got to know them personally and all those kinds of things. So basically what I'm saying is there was a network of a lot of people over the course of many years of me working for a company and dealing with tradespeople, dealing with customers in the commercial business, to where whenever I went on my own, I already had people that I had contacts with. So let's say those electricians that I normally hired on my jobs, well, they'd go somewhere and wire in receptacles for somebody's kitchen, and that the person might say, I really can't find anybody to put in a backsplash for me. Do you know anybody that does a backsplash? And they'd say, well, actually, Joey, I've worked with him for a long time. He used to work at this place, but now he's working for his own. I'll give you his number. So then that happened that way. Also, while I was working at the place that I worked, I was doing jobs on the side, but not necessarily even for money. It's just for people that, might be a friend of a friend or whatever. And I'd go over and help them out and, help them learn how to do something or do whatever. So I was doing jobs for people outside of my actual work. So those people have become my customers now that they know that they can actually hire me and I'm not busy, because I would only go help them on the weekends or on weeknights or whatever, because I was working a full-time job. So those became some of my first clients. And then of course, once I was out on my own and they knew that I was able to go do work for other people, then they'd start giving my name out. Now they might not have gave my name out before because they knew I was helping them out. I wasn't really looking to do work. I was just helping them particular. But now that they knew that I was actually out working, they started giving my name to people. And that's pretty much how all my customers have just been by word of mouth. Like it's just, that's how it's been. Whether it was a person who used to do work for me gives my name to somebody, and then I give their name to people all the time too, or a customer who I worked for while I was working somewhere, or even all those people at the place where I worked at, they've given out my name to people, and I still go do work at the place that I used to work at. They still hire me for work now whenever they have stuff that they can't get done. That's actually where I've been working at for the last 2 days, was where I used to work at. Been doing some drywall there. So, but just word of mouth for me. But again, that's different. I say that with the preface of that's because of several things that were set in place with me working in the field that I've worked in for the last 20 years, and then meeting the people, and it just so happened to be, so I already had kind of stuff. I had a network of things set up, versus if I was 20 years old and didn't have all that, and I just decided one day I'm going to start my own business and not have a single contact person. Then I have to go spend a lot of money on marketing and start putting myself out there on Facebook and all that stuff. And then going and estimating jobs like crazy and not getting half of them. That's just not something I would have wanted to do. That's why I said there's certain, I would have rather work for somebody per hour in my younger days than to do what I'm doing now, just because of all those things. So there's certain times where being self-employed is going to be a good thing, and there's certain times when it's not. Same thing with hourly. It just depends on the situation. If all that makes sense. Hopefully all that makes sense. I love your shorts when you do a tool deal. Shout out. Please continue doing it. Yeah, I check clearance out like crazy. Every time I go in a store, I go around looking for clearance deals. OPT just shipped out the new Milwaukee dust separator. I'll let you know how it works. Yeah, I'm interested in that as well, because I've looked at some before. And I actually wouldn't mind even having that. I don't know that I guess you can probably use it in conjunction with the pack out vacuum and stuff like that, just because, it's just saving those bags and you're going to get better suction and stuff like that. But again, I typically don't use my pack out vacuum on big jobs though. It's mostly just for service stuff. I take my small rigid vacuums for bigger jobs. I'm envious of your HD clearance section. Ours never have much in the way of tools or accessory. Yeah, I see that a lot on, like, mine even has some stuff every now and then, but it's nowhere near, like, I see other people's videos, and like very rare that a Milwaukee tool ever makes it to the clearance section. They've actually got 3 corded rotary hammers that are Milwaukee back there right now, and I don't need one, but that's the first time I've seen a Milwaukee tool on my clearance section at my Home Depot, I think, in years. Every now and then they'll have a few DeWalt things, pretty rare on that too. Then they'll have some Ryobi stuff. That's a little bit more often. But I see people all the time that have getting crazy deals, like on framing nailers and all kinds of stuff, like where they clearance them out for $100 and stuff. And it's just like, I've never seen anything like that. So yeah, you feel that way about mine, and then I feel that way about other people's. Elliot says it's the same for where he lives. Do you hunt, fish, or golf? Not in a long time. I've hunted before. I haven't in years. It's been a long time. It just got to where that sportsman license cost so much that I was like, I can buy a lot of cow for that sportsman's license. And, getting up that early in the morning, it's just not something I never really absolutely just loved doing it. I would go with people on basically all 3 of the things that you just listed there. They're not my go-to things that I enjoy, but I don't mind. Like, I enjoy doing them. And if someone asks me to go, I'll typically go, but I don't ever just seek to go out and do them myself. Golf, especially, like I've went golfing with a lot of people. I haven't went in a long time. It's been longer for me golfing than probably any of those 3 things you mentioned. But I'm not real big into all 3 of them, but I do those things if somebody asks me to go sometimes. Ribeye, hands down, I like it exactly the way you do. Yeah, my wife doesn't like ribeyes at all, but she's not a big fat, like on the meat person. And I was like, that's what makes the ribeye the best. That's the best part of it. But she even likes like sirloins. I'm like, I just as soon almost not have a steak than have a sirloin. But I prefer ribeyes, and then probably like a T-bone, which is a New York strip and a fillet, and then a New York strip after that, and then sirloin if I have to. But I pretty much always almost get ribeyes. I don't even hardly if I'm fixing a steak and I'm buying one at the grocery, it's pretty much going to always be a ribeye. Always good to have multiple options for cash flow. The best advertising is a great reputation. Yeah, if you do good work, I mean, you're going to stay busy right now in this time that we're living in. Like, because there's just not enough people doing it. Again, it might be different in your area, but for the gist of it, I think most people, whenever I'm talking to them and I see other people's videos that live in other areas, it seems like they're saying the same thing I'm saying. And if you separate yourself, like I said, there's probably a lot of people out there that do like will say that they can do the similar things that I do. Like basically, I do anything. I mostly just tell people I just do inside work. Now I do outside work every now and then for people, like if it's fixing a gutter or siding or soffit. But I typically try not to. Like I just went and put in a bunch of exterior doors, on a house. I changed out all four of their exterior doors, and then they had a spot where they filled in their garage with some like T11 siding and had a door and a window, and that was all bad. And I tore it all out and replaced it. But it's the only reason why I did that job was, in all honesty, because I knew them, and they would have had a hard time finding somebody else to do it and to do it right. So I went ahead and did it for them. But I don't typically do that. I typically like to work inside because then I'm not wet. When you work for yourself, the hardest part of working for yourself, if you're just yourself, you don't have other employees working for you, in a business and all that kind of stuff, is scheduling. And so I try to take the outside work out of the equation because that's where I don't see how people who cut grass, like, I don't see how y'all do it. Like, if there's people out there that cut grass, like, you get 3 or 4 rainy days in a week, I don't see how you get caught up. And, all that stuff just throws kinks and stuff. So that's a lot of stress that gets added in. So I like to take the weather out of the equation if at all possible. So I tend to tell people I just do interior finish work. And as far as in my bigger jobs, commercial jobs that I do, that's all we do is me and another guy. We do interior finish work from framing all the way to, finished, from floors to acoustical ceilings, whatever it is. That's what we do. Basically, we'll start at the empty shell and we'll be done with it when we're done. And they don't even have to hire anybody else to do anything. Now, we will typically, like if we're in that kind of place, I will get like electricians and plumbers only because they can be doing work while we're doing other work type thing. Every now and then I'll even hire out the painting and stuff because if I can have somebody painting while I'm doing something else, or maybe I need to go to another job. So I've got a sub to do everything if I need it. But then there's a lot of the jobs, if I don't need them, I go ahead and just do it myself. And then that way, I fill in my schedule based upon that. Like what somebody, I think it was Mike, just said, it's always good to have multiple options for cash flow. If you're running your own business, it's always good to have multiple options for being able to, do different kind of work. That's why the service calls. So like how I do that is I pretty much have a bigger job that I'm working on every day. So I go, like today, I went today and finished a little bit of demo, hung some drywall, put a coat of mud on 3 rooms worth of drywall. And then if I had some service calls, like I say I left at 2 o'clock today, that's when I do those. And then I fit those in the afternoon, or maybe I go in somewhere and work till noon, but then I don't have anything I can do on that job because stuff needs to dry or I'm waiting on something. I'll go do some service calls to fill in those gaps of time. And then you can do the same thing with those big jobs. Like if I don't have some other big job that's on my schedule that I need to go do, then I'll just do the painting, on this job, and I'll pay myself instead of paying somebody else or whatever it might be. And same thing, so I don't know how I would do it yet with just service calls. That's what I'd like to get to, but you got to have a lot of customers to be able to stay 100% busy on service calls, like day in and day out, versus my bigger jobs I can work on from 7 o'clock in the morning till 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon every single day, and I'm getting paid from 7 to, it's like a regular job basically. I don't have to find that much work because that's my whole day right there. Versus a service call, I might have to find 6 or 7 of them a day to fill in a whole day's worth of time to be able to make the kind of money. But you make more per hour maybe on a service call, but you make more money overall on the big jobs because it's solid hours, or at least that's the case for me. I can't stay quiet long enough to golf, fish, or hunt. Mike said, "LOL. Rather not have a steak than have a sirloin." Yeah, I'm honestly I'm the same way. Maybe Miss Morgan might like a New York strip. That's what I get her. Like if I go to the store and buy a ribeye, that's typically what I buy her is a New York strip. Uh, my girlfriend doesn't like ribeye for the same reason, but she really likes the New York strip or a fillet. What do you think about not enough people going into the trades? I think it's going to be a big problem. I really do, because I've seen a huge decline in the time that I've been doing it, and I've not been in it but like 20 years or so doing this kind of work, and it's big time difference. And that's like there's plenty of electricians in my area for the most part, and a lot of them are they're still all at least my age though for the most part, but there are younger people getting into the electrical trade. The biggest one in my area is plumbing. Like there's not very many people that just get into plumbing. I think that younger people, for whatever reason, I think they think it's just a dirty, nasty job, which sometimes it is, but so is being an electrician. So is being anything really. Sometimes all of it's dirty and nasty. But the buddy of mine that is a plumber, he's the guy who I hire to be my plumber if I need one. I think he's in his 50s. And other than his son that works with him, he says every time he goes to like continuing education classes and stuff like that, whenever he goes to those, he's the youngest person in the room, like other than his son who works with him. So typically, I mean, you start thinking 10 years down the road from now, I mean, where are we going to be? And even if you have a surge of people that are younger wanting to get into the trades, there's not going to be very many. There's that middle section of people. Like we've got a lot of older people, and let's say hypothetically things shift and then young people start getting into it. Well, the old people are going to be gone when the young people are starting, and who's going to train them? There's not enough people in the middle to train them. So no matter what, even if there's a big surge of people getting into the trades, it's still going to be a problem because you're going to be missing out on all that knowledge being shared from this group to this group because the whole middle is just missing because everybody in the middle, everybody in my age group was all told going to school, you don't want to dig a ditch and you don't want to be in that. That's what people who don't have a choice in what they do, that's the kind of work they do. You need to go to college. You need to do this. There's couple decades worth of people that's all that there is, and there's going to be a big gap of knowledge that's not going to take place going from this point to this point, and that is hypothetically even if a bunch of people get into the trade starting now. So I think even if you do get a big surge, it's still going to be a problem no matter how you look at it. I think for years we told kids that you have to have a college degree to be successful. Now we have a ton of people up to their eyeballs in debt with no marketable skills. Yep, 100%. I have a degree, but I have one kid that I'm encouraging to get him into the trade school just isn't his thing. And that was the case for me. I actually went to college for a little while, and then I didn't want to even go. But again, it was one of those things where I was so done with school whenever I got done, but I didn't really know for sure what I wanted to do. And but it was so much of a thing that, well, that's what you do when you get out of high school. You go to college. That's what you're supposed to do. And if you don't do that, what are you doing with yourself? So that's what I did, and I was so burned out on it because whenever I went to college, everything that I was taking whenever I was there was all stuff that I had already taken in high school. Like it was basically a refresher course of your general education stuff that they're making you pay for, and you're doing all that same stuff again that I've already went through, and I'm just like, I can't do this. It's just so boring to me. I can't do it. So then I was like, I'm just going to start working. I'm just going to go ahead and go find me some jobs and just start working, and it'll lead me somewhere. That's where it's going to lead me. And that's where I'm at today. It's just, I went from just working in factories on the line, doing all sorts of stuff from welding and working press machines and moving into the tool and die area and moving into the maintenance area, moving into management in the factories and stuff like that. And then I just went out and started doing maintenance. And then I worked as the facilities manager, somebody, because all those jobs led me to have management skills, maintenance skills, all those things. And that led me to the job as the facilities manager. And I did that for the longest time. And then I also worked over into commercial construction for a few years from that. So all that stuff led me down the path to get me to where I am, and I can't imagine doing anything different, uh, because this is the kind of work that I like to do. So even though I was pushed to go to school because that's what everybody does, and then also, I didn't really even know what I was wanting to do. I still ended up getting to the point of where this is what I want to do. I can't imagine doing anything else. Like a lot of people would say, oh, that's just how it worked out for you. You had to do this kind of work. It's like, well, no, it just worked out for me that I ended up doing the thing that I love doing, and I can't imagine doing anything else. But again, there's a lot of kids out there that are in the same boat as me, don't really know what you want to do, because how many kids out there have done the kind of work that we do, whether it's plumbing, electrical, and all that? I mean, most kids haven't done it. And it's not about being a plumber, an electrician, and all those kinds of things. To me, it's all about if you can get someone, because there's a lot of people out there that if you can do something with your hands, and you, like, something was broke and then you messed with it and you figured it out, and then now it's working, or you go to a house that's run down and in horrible shape, and then you spend some time with your two hands taking it and you turn it into something extremely nice. That feeling that you get, like, I can't even explain it. That's the whole reason why I do what I do. But there's so many kids like that, they don't know what they want to do, but if they could get that feeling right there, they realize this is what I want to do. And there's nothing that beats it, in my opinion. There's so many of them out there that are like me, but they don't even know that that's what they want to do. Like I said, I didn't know that that's what I wanted to do. I was actually going to go to school and be a teacher, so that I could be a football coach. And that was what I was going to do, even though it wasn't really necessarily something that I was just desiring to do. But that's kind of well, I guess I might do that. If I got to go to school for something, that's what I'm going to do. But that ultimately, I know for a fact I'd rather be doing what I'm doing right now, because that wouldn't do for me what this does, what this type of work does for me. As a sales guy, I can assure you that also can get nasty. Oh yeah, I can imagine dealing with people is something else. That's back whenever I was basically over an entire department in a factory. So I had multiple people running on machines and all that kind of stuff. And whenever I left there, I was like, I will never manage people again. Like, I don't want to be in a position where I'm managing a lot of people. And then also I can see it's kind of the same thing. I mean, it's just still dealing with people is the thing. That's what a sales guy. It gets pretty bad, and that's why I also won't hire employees. Like, I have enough work that I could hire other people and then be making money off them working and all that kind of stuff. But it's just not worth it to me to have to deal with the stress of dealing with customers, dealing with my employees, and dealing with employees that are dealing with customers. And you start adding in, that's just more people. And I always like the less amount of people I can involve in a situation. That's why I said a minute ago or earlier in this video, I'm not a crowd person. Like, you won't catch me at a concert. And like I said, I used to in my younger days, didn't bother me. And it doesn't bother me as far as because it's people, a big amount of people. It's just because it's people. You start getting a lot of people involved, it just gets nasty. We're going to have millions of YouTube plumbers, LOL. What you got against YouTube plumbers? Plumbing McQuay said. Yeah. I tell you, though, I mean, that is one thing, I guess, that might fill the gap. Although I still don't think a lot of the more knowledgeable people in our trades, and again, I'm saying that loosely as whatever trade you're in, if the electrician, plumber, whatever you are, the most knowledgeable people are the older guys for the most part. And again, I'm not saying that there aren't younger people and middle people that are, some of them, the average outwise is what I'm saying. The people who've seen it all, people who've done it all those kinds of things, they're not making YouTube videos. That's the thing. That's the sad thing about it. But I will say that will be something that might fill the gap for the younger people, because, I mean, you've got it made. I think about the difference of whenever I first started doing this kind of stuff versus today. I mean, I can literally type anything in YouTube and you'll find like 7 videos on how, I mean, I just fixed I had a coolant leak on my truck, and it was a factory part I was basically going to have to change out my whole coolant reservoir and all kinds of stuff to really fix it the OEM way forward. So I started searching. I found a way to fix it that was like cost me like $30, and I'll never have to worry about it leaking again with using those factory parts. But it's like I searched F-150 coolant link, and literally you can find like 17,000 videos that shows you how to do it. So that's one thing that they got going for them, I guess, as far as the younger people that are getting into it, is that you can search stuff and find just about anything. And if you can put two and two together, you probably come out all right. But there's a lot of bad stuff on YouTube too, though. That's the only downside to it. Leonard said years ago on the back of my man's card, it said, "Word of mouth advertising cannot be bought; it has to be earned." I thought it was great then. I still believe it now. And then he said, "You're so right." I went to a commercial industrial HVAC because I had exposure to it from my dad doing it. I never would have known that without that opportunity. Trades are not perfect, but I find fulfillment in the field. Industrial, love working on a plant chiller or a large VFR system. Yeah, and that's what I said. A lot of kids these days would have no idea that they would even want to do stuff with their hands, because most of them don't even, for the most part, go outside very often. Little on did stuff with their dads or whatever it might be. It's few and far between. I mean, there's still a lot of them out there that do. I'm not saying it's like 100% across the board, but I'm saying it's definitely less than my generation, and my generation is even less than the generation before me, just because that's just the way we've transitioned as a society. But it's definitely going to be the case. And then again, they have no idea. I didn't have any idea until I just started doing it. That sense of fulfillment is definitely a big factor for me, Abraham said. Roberto noticed a lot of the older generation hate working in the trades, maybe because they've been at it for years and never became independent. I feel on the trades, the ultimate goal is to be your own boss. I would think it would be a goal to shoot for sure, because it's the same thing with anything. You can't plan to, as you're older, to do the same things you do when you're younger. That's kind of what I think about, and I'm not saying this is wrong or indifferent for you to rent a house, because there's times when you have to, because you don't have a down payment, you don't have a whatever. But some people like renting because, well, I'm never going to have to mow my grass, or I'm never going to have to do this. Just depends on how you rent. Some people who rent still have to do all that stuff. But, can you always pay rent even when you're 80 years old? I don't know if you can or not. You have to figure that out, but you have to plan for that. If you're going to plan to rent, you have to plan. I've got to put back enough money to pay rent even when I'm 75 years old, because I'm not going to have the income coming in like what I've got right now. Versus if you own a home, you're still going to have to pay property taxes and all that stuff, but that's nothing like paying, $1,000 a month for rent every month. And it's the same thing with working. If I can't plan to do what I'm doing today and have to still be doing it whenever I'm 60 something, even though in my mind I'll think, well, you should still be able to do it when you're 60 something. Well, that's silly to think that, because you're not going to be able to do the same things when you're 60 something that you can when you're in your 40s and 30s and stuff like that. So you have to plan for that. And so in my opinion, that should be the goal that most of the people are looking for, is even if the company that I work for doesn't have a way for me to move up and to become maybe an estimator or a project manager, to where I'm not turning tools and, or lifting drywall or sheathing or, doing all those things whenever I'm 60 years old. If they don't have a place for me to be able to do that as I get older, then I need to plan for myself. Whenever I get older, I got to have myself in a position where I get to choose to do that, whatever it is. So you gotta think that out. You gotta also think down the road and see what's going to happen. Of course, you never know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen 10 years from now. All my planning may be for nothing, but you still have to think that out. You have to think ahead to be able to make plans for those things. Because again, none of us are going to be able to do the same stuff when we're in our 60s that we can while we're in our 40s. Hopefully, I'm not even working when I'm in my 60s, but you never know. Cody said, "Don't get me wrong, I do a lot on the laptop as well. Do some control work, VRF through a laptop, pairing sensors on a train chiller as well. Constantly changing C environment makes it difficult to get bored." 100%, he said, on what I was just saying. Yeah, it's everything out there, and I think if we could get more, I wish they'd put more stuff in school, like to give people. And the school that I went to actually had that kind of stuff. I don't know if they still have it now. I think they got a little bit at the school in my town, and again, other places may have more, and then I'm sure some school districts have zero. But whenever I was in school, they had auto mechanics, they had wood shop, they had all sort welding, all sorts of things like that. And of course, I took none of those, and I wish that I would have now, because it would have at least let me know, hey, this is actually what you like doing, Joey, if you'd have done some of this. But of course, I didn't think I wanted to do any of that. Why would I have thought that? Nobody ever said this might be something you'd be interested in, because they were pushing you to do something else. But I think if they gave kids more opportunity to get that sense of fulfillment of you are able to work with your hands and do something, I think that more people would actually go into it, and get that stigma off of it of it's the job that you do if you can't do anything else, and it's also a job. I don't get the idea of that you can't make good money, because in my area, any kind of trade pays better than any other job that I know. So it's actually the better paying job. And the biggest thing is, every other job that I know, that even if it pays close to it, there's no guarantee that you're going to always have a job, because something's going to come along where they're going to downsize, or they're going to figure out a way to do your job without needing you, have some robot do it or whatever. That's never going to happen. If you're an electrician, they're going to always need electricians. If you're a plumber, they're going to always need plumbers. All those things, there's no robot out there that can diagnose and actually like go into how many random things do you run into on your day to day that a robot would have to be programmed for, to be able to do all those things. I mean, I'm not saying 100 years from now it might not be the case, but I don't see it anytime soon. Like, I don't see any possible way. So you're going to always have a job in the trades. You're always going to make decent money. So you never have to worry about all those things. I just think I think if anything, it should be pushed as it's the better option to get into than really any of that other stuff. Now, again, is it physical work? Yes. Is it nasty sometimes? Yes. But you got to take all that stuff in consideration. Mac Bergson, nothing. I'm a proud YouTube plumber. Cody Thompson, I make six figures doing this work. Not saying that to brag, but I find it important that people understand what I mean when I say you can make good money. You pay for it in some way, like your body, but I find it to be important. Yeah, like I said, I could easily make, if I wanted to, and I wanted to be like, hammer it down, stressing myself out, scheduled to where, I got to make sure I'm to where I had to start calling people because I got backed up on something. But I've just got people just working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I could probably make $250,000 a year if I wanted to, if I really wanted to. I could take on all sorts of jobs that I turned down. I could go hire people. I could start my business and make it to where I've got employees working for me and take on all that stress. And then I could probably turn that into $1 million business if I wanted to. But I'd still probably be bringing home the same amount that I'm bringing home, but adding all that stress, because I'd be paying other people. Like I said, instead of me getting to take in that money, I'd have to be paying somebody to do the estimating, paying somebody to do the, project managing, paying for more vehicles, paying for more tools. So I don't see the purpose to take on all that, because you're probably at the end of the day, you might bring home a little bit more money, but I don't think it's worth the stress of all that. So that's why I'm just going to stay me, myself, and I, and then I'm happy with what I'm doing. It's fine by me with what I make. But yeah, like you said, six figures is definite a thing that, especially if you run your own business. I don't see any way that you could not make six figures if you wanted to. In my area, I always have to clarify, in my area. And other places you can probably make double that, because again, my area is not really all that of a hotty toddy place where you make a ton of money. Everything in life is a trade-off. Company I work for don't really force overtime on us either. I mostly stick to 40, but we'll work extra to help out at times. Also specialize in some things that I'm married to. Well, I'm probably going to get off here. I think we've been on here for more than a couple hours, and I saw the car pull in, and I got to go heat up some coffee. My coffee's cold. Didn't even get to drink it all before it got cold. That's a sin. But I appreciate all y'all being on here. I tell anyone, let's see, Leonard just said something. Let me see what he said. I tell anyone is, even if you don't want to do this for a living, you will know how to do it. And if they're screwing you, yeah, that's a good point too. It's like it's a good, even if you don't want to do this, like I've told both my sons, it's like, of course, I will go to their house and fix whatever, and they know that and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, y'all need to pay attention whenever I'm doing stuff because I'm not, one is, I'm not going to always be here to do it for you. But two, how much money have I saved myself in my lifetime? Who knows? I mean, because I've remodeled my whole house. I've done, like, I guarantee you, I've put, if I was to pay somebody to do what's on the inside of my house, I would have probably paid 70 grand, but I probably got maybe like six or $7,000 of materials in there to do that kind of work that I've done in it. And but even that, it's like working on my truck, working on, fixing a plumbing issue in my house, changing out a faucet. I mean, how much money have I actually saved myself? Not counting how much money I've made actually going out and doing it as a business. It's just a good skill set to have in whatever way. I've seen a lot of thanks come in, I think. So enjoy the brisket, he said. See you, Morgan. H. Moob said, thanks, thank you, thanks. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get off here. Again, if you haven't watched the Roxy Vaughn video, go over and watch it, and there's a hashtag in there. If you put that in your comment, I'm going to do a drawing and give that away. And whenever I do that live, I'm going to be thinking about it anyways. If I can come up with a way, I will probably maybe give away some other stuff that day as well. I also ordered some Morgan's Maintenance stickers. A lot of y'all have been asking about those. I ordered some off of Amazon, having somebody make them. I don't know when I'll get them. I'm going to see what they look like. They might not be any good. And if that's the case, I'll figure out a way that I can start maybe shipping some of those out to some people too as well. But I'm going to go ahead and get off here. Appreciate all y'all being on here. It's always fun to get on here and chat. I hadn't seen y'all in a while since last Saturday. I think I haven't had a live since last Saturday. So, and I knew I won't be able to be on here. Sometimes on Saturday I get on early because I know there's a lot of people from overseas, and of course this is really late for them, so they're not going to be on here. But I won't be able to be on here tomorrow, so that's why I also wanted to come out here tonight. So we'll go ahead and see y'all on the next one. Y'all have a great weekend. Y'all have a blessed rest of your day.